What's up, everyone? I'm John Laird from 101X Homegrown. I'm joined by Mobley today, and we're going to be talking about lots of stuff that he has going on, staying busy during quarantine, which is important. I'm proud of you for that. I was thinking earlier today, the last time I saw you was the Australia Wildfire Benefit Show we did in January, which seems like an eternity ago.
Feels like years ago.
I was trying to think of that show, and what's wild is like I have a Barracuda shirt. Barracuda's closed now,
No, it's a
which
shame.
when we were at that benefit show, I never would have thought that that would be the last time I would see you for 5 months, and then also that Barracuda would not be open later on. It's just so wild. Like, has this quarantine just stretched on and on for you in just the weirdest of ways, as it has clearly for me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I actually have another story of kind of not expecting a thing to be over, but so when they announced that South by was going to be canceled, I was out on the road. I played Bowery Ballroom in New York, and then I was in LA to play at the Troubadour, and they had a show the previous night, and my show was supposed to be on a Friday night. That ended up getting canceled on the same day that word was coming down that South by was getting canceled. And then the show before mine ended up being the last show ever at the Troubadour. It's closed now.
Weird. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The last show that I went to was at my wedding, which was in Feb. We had a cover band play, and that was the last show that I went to. I never would have guessed that that would have been, or at least for now, the last show that I've gone to in this forever long stretch of time that does not seem to want to end. But you, though, have managed to stay really busy in this quarantine, which is pretty great. You just put out a Home Unfamiliar, 30 plus artists all doing their part from quarantine. Talk to me about that, how that came together, who all is involved, where people can watch it now. Provide all the details.
Yeah. So the idea came about really early on. I'd say I started working on it in late March, because I was just feeling kind of aimless, the way I think a lot of us were right at the beginning. And I wanted to A, have a creative project, but B, there were so many people who were going above and beyond to help other people. And I wanted to find a way to put my talents and my abilities, as well as a bunch of other artists, to use to raise some money for charity. So the idea came from the Exquisite Corpse game, which is, if people aren't familiar, one version of it, for example, would be you have a piece of paper, and let's say we fold it into 5 parts, and there are 5 of us. I draw on my sheet of the paper and then fold most of it under and leave, just a sliver showing, so that then I pass it to you and you kind of pick up the lines and so on and so forth. And then you open it up and you have this really bizarre, surreal drawing that was pieced together by 5 people. I hadn't ever heard of that being applied to music or to film. And I work in both of those media. And so I reached out to a bunch of musicians and filmmakers, and basically the idea was, over the course of the month of April, everybody would have 2 days to create a piece of music, or if you're a musician, or a piece of film to accompany one of those pieces of music. And so over the course of the month, we kind of had this game of telephone where I wrote the first piece, handed the end of that off to a musician, and then handed the full thing off to a filmmaker who made a piece. And then over the course of the month, we accumulated this visual album. Lots of incredible artists on it. Shaky Graves is on there. Jim Eno from Spoon. It's actually his first published solo work.
Right, which is really crazy, cool, considering how much stuff I get just sort of, produced by Jim Eno and things like that. Right. I would have thought somewhere along the way he had kind of done something on his own. But yeah, I was surprised when I saw that little note. I was like, oh, who would have got? I definitely wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. Jackie Vincent's on there, Walker Lukens, Bright Light Social Hour, AJ Haynes from the Serotones, DZ Brown, Mama Duke, Honey Sun, Kelsey Wilson from Wild Child and Sir Woman, lots of people, and then lots of great local filmmakers.
Yeah.
And it's streaming right now on the Alamo Drafthouse website, Alamo On Demand. I think it's ondemand.drafthouse.com.
I think that's right. Is it going to stay there, or will it be other places streaming at some point? Is that just kind of where it's going to live for now?
We're working on that right now, but if you want to see it for sure, because it's not going to be up forever, now is definitely the time to see it. It's streaming for $5 on there, and 100% of the proceeds go to the Central Texas Food Bank and to the DAWA Fund, which is a direct aid fund that helps artists and service industry workers and healthcare professionals who are people of color.
Nice. That's great. So that was, I guess, in a weird way, because this has gone on for so long, that's like quarantine stage one.
Yeah.
What does the rest of this kind of look like for you? Any more projects similar to this, or are you just, what is the Mobley focus now that this is obviously going to, I mean, there's not going to be any shows for probably the rest of the year.
Right.
You know, what does that kind of look like for you?
So I've been working on a lot of things. I actually just put out, as you know, I just put out the Foster the People rework of my song Nobody's Favorite, which was really cool to get to do. We are currently, so my next record is called Young and Dying in the Occident Supreme, and it's a 6-song record, and there's also a short film, like 15-minute short film that goes along with it. And I'm putting the finishing touches on that. I shot it before all of this started, but then there was no deadline.
The EP was supposed to originally come out in May, right?
That's right. It was supposed to come out in May, and 2 more songs were supposed to have come out, but we kind of put that on hold for various obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at gearing back up. I'm not entirely sure when stuff's going to start coming out, but I know that we're looking at putting out another single in the next month or 2, and then gearing back up to start putting out the film and the full record. But people should follow me on social media.
Of course.
Check out my website.
Foster the People reworking is great. I put it was in Homegrown recently and will be there for a while. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool little kind of nugget, I guess, here in the middle of all of this. How did that kind of come together?
We have mutual friends and contacts. So a friend of a friend, or a friend who's a friend of theirs, put us in touch, and shared the song with them. And kind of to my surprise, they expressed interest in reworking it, which was really cool. And then yeah, we just kind of chatted back and forth, sent files back and forth, and I think they came up with something really, really cool that brought out. I originally conceived of the song as kind of a like dance punk track, and they really emphasized the dance part of it, which I thought was cool, for sure, and brought out some elements of it that I don't even think I completely realized were in there. So it was really cool to see their take on it.
Yeah. When you get something back like that and it's that kind of different, is it just immediately like, wow, cool? Or is it, whoa, this is just kind of weird at first?
So in this case, I loved it immediately. I thought that it was really cool. I mean, we went back and forth and tweaked a few things, but I liked it immediately. But I've definitely in the past had remixes and reworks come back with like,
as someone who does a lot of like freelance writing and stuff, a lot of times when it finally goes live, I'm like, what is that? So it takes like a moment to be like okay with edits, or you kind of have an original tone, I guess. And so when that kind of gets lost a little, not lost, but reworked, it can be a little weird. So I was just curious as to your thoughts on that. But so 2021, have you started to think about that at all, or is at this point, is it just I just need to get to the end of this bizarre, crazy, strange year?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I mean, I'm really fortunate in that, I have a place to live. My basic needs are taken care of. I'm not having to worry too much about that stuff. So I'm trying to kind of take advantage of what feels like a pretty unique moment, where the rat race is kind of stopped, or at least slowed
Right,
down dramatically, and I can just be creative for the sake of being creative, like with no end game in mind,
right,
um, which feels like a pretty enormous privilege. But I'm definitely also working on things. I have the next record already done, and I'm working on the record after that. And then yeah, we're in discussions about touring stuff for next year,
right.
festival stuff for next year.
Yeah, I
But
saw
like,
somebody, another local artist recently tweet out, about how he didn't have to do social media content or play as many shows. He didn't have to kind of do the puzzle piecing of all of the normal stuff you have to do. And he was like, I'm really enjoying this kind
yeah,
of like I know it's like a sort of a forced break for a lot of people, but it sounded like he was, taking advantage of it. Like you said, not being in the rat race, so to speak,
yeah,
of all of this nonstop. I know for me personally, I've been like, oh wow, I can just kind of hang out. I don't have to
yeah,
be like running all these shows, doing all this stuff. It's just like, take a step back for a moment and reprioritize some stuff.
yeah.
Um, Speaking of that kind of, priority level type stuff, I know you've been sort of at the forefront at a lot of these, kind of like Black Lives Matter type stuff. Is there, just sort of anything, any I guess sort of resources you think people should check out in regards to like Black artists or anything else that, just a good kind of direction to point anybody who might be curious as to what, you kind of feel like is important, or a good resource, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess first and foremost, I would recommend that people check out the DAWA Fund, DAWA. As I said, they're one of the beneficiaries of A Home Unfamiliar, and the great thing about them is that they do direct aid to the communities that they serve, and very, very little of the money that you donate to them is going to overhead or to fundraising or anything like that. Almost all of it is going directly into the pockets of the people who need it. So that's one avenue for helping that I'm definitely excited about, interested in. Second thing, there is a proposal right now to establish a Black Lives Music Fund in Austin, and there is a petition up on change.org. It was put up by AC Monaro of Go Fever, that has well over 1,500, maybe close to 2,000 signatures right now, including some really big names in Austin music like Shaky Graves, Max Frost, Margin Walker. So I would highly recommend that people become a part of spreading awareness about that idea and supporting that idea. It's currently being discussed in the Music Commission, and we're hopeful that it's something that can be made happen to kind of address the historical and ongoing inequities in the music industry in Austin, specifically as faced by Black musicians in the scene. The final thing, and this is kind of an ongoing thing, is just to support Black musicians. There's no shortage of very talented Black musicians across every genre, and I mean every genre that you could want to listen to. And so support them, buy their music, follow them on social media, share their music. Whenever shows come back, go to their shows and show the people in power and the gatekeepers that there is an audience for Black musicians in Austin. I know that there is, and lots of other people know that there is, but it's also incumbent on the audiences to make themselves seen and heard and known. And so I think those would be the three things that I would suggest if people are really interested in approaching approaching their part in the local music industry from a lens of racial justice.
Yeah, and there's so many in Austin. I I mean, I did a show a number of weeks ago that was just all black local artists, and it was very easy to fill out.
Yeah,
It's just there's so many awesome, artists, and I mean, Austin's got a ton of bands, anyways, and there's a lot of really talented people here. But it wasn't a difficult thing to pull out an hour's worth of really great music.
yeah,
So anyways, that's it's all good stuff to know. I mean, it's hard, I think, sometimes to kind of focus a little bit on what are some good resources that kind of to point people towards. I feel like social media just sort of yells all of them at once, so it's like I don't
right.
know which path to go down. I need
Yeah,
help, a little
yeah.
bit. So well, that's that. I just I'm happy to see your face, by the way.
Likewise, man.
It's
Good to see
been
you.
too long. Like I said, if I had known I wasn't going to see you post that Aussie show until now, I would have just given you a bigger hug. Back when we could hug people.
I know. I know.
Now it's like if I were to see you in person, I'd have to just sort of, I guess, wave or something. Yeah. Air hugs from really far away. I don't know how it
Yeah.
works now, but it's good to see you. The Foster the People reworking of Nobody's Favorite is available now. A Home Unfamiliar is available now on the Alamo On Demand stuff. New EP coming from Mobley soon. You're staying busy. Like I said, I like that you're staying busy. That's a good look for you. So
Thanks, man.
that's that. Again, I'm John Laird from Homegrown. That's Mobley. We'll talk to you soon.